Shekhar Prabhakar. He completed his BTech from IIT Madras in Mechanical Engineering in 1984 and did his MBA in Marketing and Systems from IIM Calcutta. Teaching is a passion that he has indulged in throughout his working life by taking every opportunity to facilitate various workshop and training programs and as a faculty for MBA students. He started working in August 2015 on providing waste management services through waste pickers, thus creating livelihoods and impacting the environment by disposing the waste appropriately. He is currently the co-founder and managing director of Haisariu Dala Private Limited, a social enterprise committed to creating predictable livelihoods for waste pickers through providing total waste management, urban gardening systems and products for sustainable living. We welcome you, sir.
Hello everybody, my name is Shekhar, and just to get a sense of the people here, how many of you are aspiring social entrepreneurs? Okay. How many of these are interested in waste management? Interesting. Okay, thanks. Just to get a sense. So the thing given to me by Pradeep was to sort of tell my story of having put up, established a social enterprise and the personal journey of being a social entrepreneur, as well as give some insights on the waste management sector. So I'll try to do justice to it and hopefully keep to the time. Now, Personally, I'm what I call a late-stage first-time entrepreneur. Right? I started entrepreneurship at the age of 52, and it was a difficult journey. The reason I left corporate was because I became a chief marketing officer and decided that I had reached my level of incompetence. I said, I'm never going to be a CEO, right? So why do this for the next 15 years? Let me do something else. So I said, I pivoted and became a professor. I loved the job. It paid me 10% or less than what I was earning, but that was okay. And you actually can live a lovely life, quality of life within a lack of things. So all of you who are looking for multi-crore, multi-million-dollar salaries, you can still live a reasonable life. But anyway, we pivoted, and I taught till 1 month ago. August 31st was my last day as a professor at the American Institute of Management. And the reason I got into social entrepreneurship was very simple. The founder of Haisariu Dala, most of you, even the compere made a hash of the name, must be wondering why such a tongue-twisting name, right? I'm a marketeer. First thing I should have done is choose a name that is easy to say. Why did we choose Haisariu Dala? Right? In Kannada, it means the green force. A name chosen by the waste pickers with whom we work. And we said, yes, it is tongue twisting, no one will understand, but that's okay, because we wanted to tell the waste pickers that this is something that we're doing for you, right? And so one of the things that, so anyway, coming back to the founder, Shekhar, in the interest of full transparency, I happen to be married to her and continue to stay married, which is a even bigger achievement. But she has been a social activist since we got married. She has worked with child labor, child prostitution, human sex trafficking in the US, domestic violence in the US, waste pickers. She was one of the co-founders of the first waste picker trade union in the world in '92 in Pune, which today has become Swatch, which handles the waste management of the whole of Pune with 6,000 waste pickers. Completely dismantled the contractor system in Pune. Right? So both Pimpri Chinchwad and Pune Municipal Corporation have given the waste management to waste pickers. Right? So she was a co-founder of that. When we came to Bangalore, she found that most people were not talking of waste pickers when they were talking of waste management in Bangalore. So she decided to raise awareness of the contribution that waste pickers make. And that's how I got involved in '92, and I got involved again with waste pickers. Now, one of the first things that we did was do a study in terms of the contribution of waste pickers. Waste pickers in Bangalore city recycle 1,050 tons of recyclable waste every day, saving the municipal corporation 84 crore rupees if they were to do it themselves. Right? So we raised awareness. We started creating doing policy advocacy on how to integrate waste pickers into waste management. We did a PIL to implement three-way segregation. Everyone talks of two-way segregation. Bangalore is the first city where the High Court has, through a PIL, which we were part of, actually said you have to do three-way segregation, which is wet, dry, and domestic hazardous waste, which is sanitary and diaper waste. Right? So then the next thing we did was we moved the Lok Adalat to give identity cards to waste pickers. Now what's the big deal about an identity card? For many of them it was their first official identity. Right? It is the same card that the mayor of Bangalore carries, signed by the BBMP commissioner. Thanks to the experiment in Bangalore, it is now part of the central solid waste management rules 2016 that all urban local bodies have to give identity cards to waste pickers. Right? Sorry, I tend to get dry in the mouth because of stage fear. So now one of the other rules that we got into the municipal corporation was that bulk waste generators, defined as residential complexes with more than 50 households or commercial establishments which generate more than 10 kilograms of waste, have to manage waste on their own. The municipal corporation will not manage their waste. Right? So a lot of citizens came to us and said, let's try and break the so-called garbage mafia, become a private service provider. Right? So we said, okay, we'll try. And as part of the not-for-profit, we actually did that. This was in 2014. Within a year, we were doing about 60 apartment complexes, and all through waste picker entrepreneurs. Right? These are not people who are on our payroll, but we wanted to leverage the innate entrepreneurship of waste pickers. And we said, okay, now this is a scalable, viable business model, but a not-for-profit was not the right framework or structure to scale it. We needed to bring in operational rigor, business rigor, and attract human capital as well as financial capital to be able to scale this. So we decided to start a company. Why a company? Why not a cooperative, a Section 8 company, or a private limited company? These are the three choices, right? Given the current government, we said cooperative is not maybe the best. Section 8 company has its limitations because you can't give back to the investor. And again, you have to depend mostly on philanthropic funds. So we decided for a private limited company. We launched in November 2015, and that was when I decided to become an entrepreneur, because I said, Nani, now I can do something. Because all this while, I did not have the skills to work on the ground with waste pickers or underserved populations, because I just did not have the skills, the organizing skills, the empathic skills, and so on. But here I said, I can bring that to this. But one thing, someone asked, what's the difference between a social entrepreneur and a general entrepreneur, or a business entrepreneur, right? Yes, a business entrepreneur is actually doing good for the society in terms of creating jobs, creating income, creating economic wealth for the country. The only thing is, a typical business entrepreneur focuses on maximizing profit. A social entrepreneur, in my opinion, maximizes social impact, but with a corollary, while keeping the business viable. Right? And that corollary is extremely important, which is why we style ourselves as a for benefit, very clear, for the benefit of waste pickers, for the benefit of the environment, but a not for loss social enterprise. The not for loss paradigm ensures that you find ways and means to become profitable faster than a typical business. Okay. I am talking from personal experience. We broke even EBITDA positive in 23 months. Last financial year, last week on audited financials, we were profit after tax positive, right? So, it is possible to run a social enterprise, maximizing social impact, but with good business principles in mind. It is not impossible. We have proven that, and it is highly possible. Right? So now, in terms of the waste management sector itself, unfortunately, for the last 4 years, waste is being, this whole thing of well thought of waste, waste as a resource, and so on, right? The myth has to be broken. Waste management as an end-to-end system, that is from the collection of waste generated by a consumer or an industry to safe disposal of the waste, is a negative value system. Someone has to pay for it. Right? There are points in the value chain where you can have a standalone business that is positive value. For example, recycling. Right? Or what the Kanpur entrepreneur Ankit Agarwal has done. Flower cycling to very high value products. But it's a niche market. How many will buy premium incense sticks? Right? So there are points in the value chain that can be made profitable, but as an end-to-end system, someone has to pay for it. Who pays for it? There are three possible sources of that revenue coming in. One is the polluter, the waste generator. We work on the polluter-based principle and charge on a pay as much as you throw wastes, right? So how much waste you generate, that's how much you pay. And the second is the producers of the products whose consumption leads to waste, which is extended producer responsibility, right? The third is the government through taxes. We have seen in the past 70 years of independence that the government through taxes has not done a great job. So it's time for social entrepreneurs, for private service providers to bring professionalism to the sector and get the first two to pay. And that, I think, is the message that I would like to leave with you all. There's a lot we can talk about. I'm here for a couple of hours, so please do reach out to me if you have anything specific. But I hope that gave you some idea of why social entrepreneurship, that it can be done even at a late stage like me. So all you guys are young, please get into it. And waste management is a sector I think is the one that needs people like you. And we need to find solutions which will bring down the cost of waste management so that any of these people have to pay less, but someone has to pay. Right?
Okay.
Secretary Pune, the Kutch Kaura Sagari unit which you have said, I had come in 2005, 2006 or so, and during my last visit what I found that what you have said is 100% correct. But then there came a waste to energy plant in Pune. Now, when I visited that plant next time, I found the plant was not working. And maybe it is not working even today. And it is more than 100 crores of rupees or more invested in that plant. So is it not causing any impact on each other? That is the cooperative and the large unit which has been set up to generate energy, because the raw material is the same. It is getting divided. And that because they take out the best whatever is there. In Pune at least where they are collecting, they are managing the rest which has to be taken care of by the municipal corporation. So how can it be replicated in other places wherever entrepreneurs are interested and that could be made viable, sustainable by either these municipal corporation, the manufacturers, now that has also come as part of the law, or the generator. Somebody has to pay. Because on its own, can it be sustained?
Yes. So, for example, today we have more than 400 bulk waste generator clients, more than 35,000 households which segregate waste at source, right? The responsibility begins with us as individuals, as waste generators. Segregate waste at source. We actually have let go of customers who did not improve their segregation from 75% to 95%. We give them 3 months, right? We sign on only if they are segregating 75%. Then they have to, within 3 months, we give them all the training. We train housekeepers, maids, children, residents, everyone, right? Within 3 months, if it does not come up to 95% segregation, we actually let the customer go, right? And our differential pricing, so if it's mixed waste, we put it into the hazardous waste, which we charge the highest, right? So the price that they goes up. So there's an incentive for them to segregate better, right? So there are ways and means of ensuring that these things happen. So today, as I said, We have more than 35,000 households, more than 121 corporate campuses and restaurants segregating at source. We take care of end to end, right? The municipal corporation has no role to play in my business. The destinations are partners of mine. I ensure that it goes to the right destination and gets processed. So it's a model that is replicable, but it requires the will of the local body and the politicians, right, to allow people like us to operate, right? So in the 3 years that we have been in business, my co-founder has been beaten up, my trucks have been hijacked, Nalini has been given death threats, right? But we stayed in the business. Today no one touches us. No one even talks to us about, you don't do this about it. Right? So it requires tenacity. It requires, all the players you have to. So we have great relationships with the BBMP, the local politicians. We are apolitical. We'll work with you whether you're Congress, BJP, JDS, AA, whatever. Right? You have to be apolitical and ensure that someone pays. So we in our case, the bulk waste generator pays, as well as the brands pay for non-recyclable waste. Right? So we have a tie-up with a couple of brands and cement kilns. So we create a market for things like multi-layered plastic. Right? And therefore it does not get burned. And the municipal corporation is not involved other than allowing us to operate. So they empower us. Right? So it is possible to do this. There are multiple models that can be proven, but you have to work with all the stakeholders, the citizens, the government, both bureaucracy and the elected representatives, the waste peoples, and you will get it right. Okay, as I said, we're going to be 3 years now. In terms of bulk waste generators in the residential sector, we think we have about a 9% market share. In corporate, we are not yet sure.
Sir, my name is Himanshu. I'm a graduate from IIT Kanpur 2009. My question is specific to the part where you referred to yourself as being a for-profit private limited organization and having a positive EBITDA. So specifically, I am working in building the largest education technology place for rural India. We're looking at a $3 billion market and doing EBITDA positive next year. Having said that, we are in a catch-22 position, and that's where I need your inputs. So education or waste management has a large play from the government. Now, working with the government, we are settlers. First, they will take their own due time. Secondly, we have this process of tenders, and as a startup, we are nowhere. I don't have a revenue in 10 years. On the other hand, I have a VC. Even if the government is ready to work, a venture capitalist says, oh well, if you're working with the government, I don't want to touch you because government is ready to take you. Have you faced that situation and how has been your experience?
Okay. So so you have to try and innovate on a delivery model of your education where you do not involve the government as a financial partner. That is, in the sense that they are your customers, or they have to give you permissions as per law, right? Which is where the corruption comes in, right? So you have to figure out a way of making the paying customer different from the beneficiaries, which are your schools and school children, right? So that is what we have done, for example, right? We created livelihoods by making the paying customer the middle class librarian, right? And making the waste pickers the service providers, professional service providers, right? So you have to figure out a model where your paying customer is not necessarily your beneficiary. That's one way of doing it. not in every way. That's one way of doing it. The second thing is, as far as investors are concerned, they are right. No one wants to invest in waste management, right? Because the first thing they say is, it's all garbage mafia, and if you go tender, you not get paid. So I haven't been paid. I run one BBMP organic waste converter facility. We haven't been paid for 18 months. We continue to do it because the waste pickers, we want to show that we can run an organic waste facility. But anyway, that's beyond beside the point. But so they're right. The VCs are right, saying that you cannot make yourself viable if you make the government the payer.
So in summary, government can be an enabler, but not necessarily a paying customer, because that will keep the sparks flowing.
That makes it more difficult for you, unless you're willing to play their game.
Space for doing the various activities. Because when it's for a site in another city, the land can be first involved. Without a land allocation to you, this is not
I totally agree. There is, as I said, a government role. Try not to make them your financial partner.
that is usually my point. And then I would have said, there was strike also. I have been there. I negotiated and I wanted to develop a transport. But I get all that. And they were able to put a lot of money into it. Most of the things provide for digital staff. But do not take this back by 1 year. That is to buy. That will be political will have to be there. Administrative will have to be there. Then only any new development is possible.
But will is created by citizens and people like us. Right? By pushing them to do what they're supposed to do. Right? We have used citizen activism, we have used the courts, we have used simple strikes, good old Gandhiji ka strikes, right? And sit downs and so on. But today, for example, Bangalore, 192 electoral wards, 188 of them have dry waste collection centers on BBMP land, BBMP providing the building, electricity and water. 33 of them are waste pickers run with a direct MOU with the BBMP. So it can be done.
Thank you. Okay, one last thing. I'm so sorry. Good thing.
When I know one.
It's very relevant right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So when I'm visiting the campus, like after having a little bit understanding about the whole issue of waste management and all, I still see a lot of us, a lot of students, professors and all, we are still using a lot of one-time use disposable products, and also a lot of things like we are unaware about the things in terms of waste and all that. So in terms of as an institute as a whole, what do you think we could strive for so that we have a better waste management in terms of awareness and in terms of execution as well?
Yeah, so I think they're really ringing the bell. So we'll do it offline. Yeah.
Either it will be relevant because we have jumped out from the.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the deal. It is trying to see how many of us think of waste in our lifetimes, even in a day. The only time we do it when housekeeping comes and knocks on your door and you have to put the dabba out, the bucket out, or the cover out, right? That's the only time. Most of that time also you do not think about it because you're on your phone, you open the door, you see her, you take the garbage out. So you don't think about what happens to the waste and where does it finally end? Does anyone do anything with it? If I'm being irresponsible, who's going to be responsible? You want the waste picker to actually touch your sanitary waste or clear between the dry and the wet, right? Would you do it? You wouldn't, right? So you have to create that awareness of the consequences of your action or inaction, right? And it can only be done by a group of passionate people saying we are going to get it done and then doing it, right? There is a memo from your director is not going to help. Right? Someone has to take the initiative. And that is what social entrepreneurship is about finally. The willingness to take initiative to bring change within yourself, your neighbors, and your society you live in. Right? And finally, waste is impacting environment. And I think environmental impact can be reduced not by institutions, not by governments, not by companies, but by each individual taking the responsibility for the consequences of his actions. Right? And that's the only change. That is only then will we actually leave a planet which is good for our children and generations to come. Next.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wise words and such a motivating speech, sir. So I'm pretty sure that students here would take a lot of lessons from this and take up social entrepreneurship and waste management in particular. So now to present Sir in the window, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Kamal Saxena.
I'm sorry if I came across as pontificating. I'm 56 years old, I think I'm allowed that. I'm sorry, the idea was not to pontificate, but to try and get you to think about what to do with this. Last financial year, last week on audited financials, we were profit after tax positive, right? So, it is possible to run a social enterprise maximizing social impact, but with good business principles in mind. It is not impossible. We have proven that, and it is highly possible, right? So now in terms of the waste management sector itself, unfortunately, for the last 4 years, waste is being, this whole thing of well thought of waste, waste as a resource, and so on, right? The myth has to be broken. Waste management as an end-to-end system, that is from the collection of waste generated by a consumer or an industry to safe disposal of the waste, is a negative value system. Someone has to pay for it. Right? There are points in the value chain where you can have a standalone business that is positive value. For example, recycling. Right? Or what the Kanpur entrepreneur Ankit Agarwal has done. Flower cycling to very high value products. But it's a niche market. How many will buy premium incense sticks? Right? So there are points in the value chain that can be made profitable, but as an end-to-end system, someone has to pay for it. Who pays for it? There are 3 possible sources of that revenue coming in. One is the polluter, the waste generator. We work on the polluter-based principle and charge on a pay as much as you throw wastes. Right? So how much waste you generate, that's how much you pay. And the second is the producers of the products whose consumption leads to waste, which is extended producer responsibility. Right? The third is the government through taxes. We have seen in the past 70 years of independence that the government through taxes has not done a great job. So it's time for social entrepreneurs, for private service providers to bring professionalism to the sector and get the first two to pay. And that, I think, is the message that I would like to leave with you all. There's a lot we can talk about. I'm here for a couple of hours, so please do reach out to me if you have anything specific. But I hope that gave you some idea of why social entrepreneurship, that it can be done even at a late stage like me. So all you guys are young, please get into it. And waste management is a sector I think is the one that needs people like you. And we need to find solutions which will bring down the cost of waste management so that any of these people have to pay less, but someone has to pay. Right?
Okay.
Secretary Pune, the Kutch Karla Sagari unit which you have said, I had come in 2005, 2006 or so, and during my last visit what I found that what you have said is 100% correct. But then there came a waste to energy plant in Pune. Now, when I visited that plant next time, I found the plant was not working. And maybe it is not working even today. And it is more than 100 crores of rupees or more invested in that plant. So is it not causing any impact on each other? That is the cooperative and the large unit which has been set up to generate energy, because the raw material is the same. It is getting divided. And that because they take out the best whatever is there. In Pune at least where they are collecting, they are managing the rest which has to be taken care of by the municipal corporation. So how can it be replicated in other places wherever entrepreneurs are interested and that could be made viable, sustainable by either these municipal corporation, the manufacturers, now that has also come as part of the law, or the generator. Somebody has to pay. Because on its own, can it be sustained?
Yes. So, for example, today we have more than 400 bulk waste generator clients, more than 35,000 households which segregate waste at source, right? The responsibility begins with us as individuals, as waste generators. Segregate waste at source. We actually have let go of customers who did not improve their segregation from 75% to 95%. We give them 3 months, right? We sign on only if they are segregating 75%. Then they have to, within 3 months, we give them all the training. We train housekeepers, maids, children, residents, everyone, right? Within 3 months, if it does not come up to 95% segregation, we actually let the customer go, right? And our differential pricing, so if it's mixed waste, we put it into the hazardous waste, which we charge the highest, right? So the price that they goes up. So there's an incentive for them to segregate better, right? So there are ways and means of ensuring that these things happen. So today, as I said, we have more than 35,000 households, more than 121 corporate campuses and restaurants segregating at source. We take care of end to end, right? The municipal corporation has no role to play in my business. The destinations are partners of mine. I ensure that it goes to the right destination and gets processed. So it's a model that is replicable, but it requires the will of the local body and the politicians, right, to allow people like us to operate, right? So in the 3 years that we have been in business, my co-founder has been beaten up, my trucks have been hijacked, Nalini has been given death threats, right? but we stayed in the business. Today no one touches us. No one even talks to us about, you don't do this part. Right? So it requires tenacity. It requires, all the players you have to. So we have great relationships with the BBMP, the local politicians. We are apolitical. We'll work with you whether you're Congress, BJP, JDS, AAP, whatever. Right? You have to be apolitical and ensure that someone pays. So we in our case, the bulk waste generator pays, as well as the brands pay for non-recyclable waste. Right? So we have a tie-up with a couple of brands and cement kilns. So we create a market for things like multi-layered plastic. Right? And therefore it does not get burned. And the municipal corporation is not involved other than allowing us to operate. So they empower us. Right? So it is possible to do this. There are multiple models that can be proven, but we have to work with all the stakeholders. Citizens, the government, both bureaucracy and the elected representatives, the waste pickers, and you will get it right. Okay, as I said, we're going to be 3 years now. In terms of bulk waste generators in the residential sector, we think we have about a 9% market share. In corporate, we are not yet sure.
Sir, my name is Himanshu. I'm a graduate from IIT Kanpur 2009. My question is specific to the part where you referred to yourself as being a for-profit private limited organization and having a positive EBITDA. So specifically, I am working in building the largest education technology play for rural India. We're looking at a $3 billion market and doing EBITDA positive next year. Having said that, we are in a catch-22 position, and that's where I need your inputs. So education or waste management has a large play from the government. Now, working with the government, we are settlers. First, they will take their own due time. Secondly, they have this process of tenders, and as a startup, we are nowhere. I don't have a revenue in 10 years. On the other hand, I have a VC. Even if the government is ready to work, a venture capitalist says, oh well, if you're working with the government, I don't want to touch you because government is ready to pay. Have you faced that situation and how has been your experience?
Okay. So so you have to try and innovate on a delivery model of your education where you do not involve the government as a financial partner. That is, in the sense that they are your customers, or they have to give you permissions as per law, right? Which is where the corruption comes in, right? So you have to figure out a way of making the paying customer different from the beneficiaries, which are your schools and school children, right? So that is what we have done, for example, right? We created livelihoods by making the paying customer the middle class librarian, right? And making the waste pickers the service providers, professional service providers, right? So you have to figure out a model where your paying customer is not necessarily your beneficiary. That's one way of doing it, not a single way. That's one way of doing it. The second thing is, as far as investors are concerned, they are right. No one wants to invest in waste management, right? Because the first thing they say is, it's all garbage mafia, and if you go tender, you'll not get paid. So I haven't been paid. I run one BBMP organic waste converter facility. We haven't been paid for 18 months. We continue to do it because the waste pickers, we want to show that we can run an organic waste facility. But anyway, that's beyond beside the point. So they're right. The VCs are right saying that you cannot make yourself viable if you make the government the payer.
So in summary, government can be an enabler, but not necessarily a paying customer, because that will It was possible.
That makes it more difficult for you, unless you're willing to play their game.
Alright, so let me give you, you said that Pune, to populate. First of all, when it comes to the allocation of land, space for doing the various activities. Because when it's for a site in other city, the land can be first involved. That without a land allocation to you, this is not possible.
I totally agree. There is, as I said, a government role. Try not to make them your financial partner.
That is basically my point. And then I would have said, there was strike also. I have been there. I negotiated and I wanted to develop the transport. But I did IIT and all that. And they were able to put a lot of money into it. Most of the people who were provide for digital staff. But it's not like it's not by 1 year that comes to power. There will be some political will have to be there. Administrative will have to be there. Then only any development is possible.
But will is created by citizens and people like us. Right? By pushing them to do what they're supposed to do. Right? We have used citizen activism. We have used the courts. We have used simple strikes, good old Gandhiji ka strikes. Right? And sit downs and so on. But today, for example, Bangalore, 192 electoral wards, 188 of them have dry waste collection centers on BBMP land, BBMP providing the building, electricity and water. 33 of them are waste pickers run with a direct MOU with the BBMP. So it can be done.
Thank you. Okay, one last thing. I'm so sorry. Good thing.
When I know it,
It's very relevant right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So when I'm visiting the campus, like after having a little bit understanding about the whole issue of waste management and all, I still see a lot of us, a lot of students, professors and all, we are still using a lot of one-time use disposable products, and also a lot of things like we are unaware about the things in terms of waste and all.
Yeah.
So in terms of as an institute as a whole, what do you think we could strive for so that we have a better waste management in terms of awareness and in terms of execution as well?
Yeah, so I think they're really ringing the bell. So we'll do it offline. Yeah.
Either it will be relevant because we have jumped out from the.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the deal. It is trying to see how many of us think of waste in our lifetimes, even in a day. The only time we do it when housekeeping comes and knocks on your door and you have to put the dabba out, the bucket out, or the cover out, right? That's the only time. Most of that time also you do not think about it because you're on your phone, you open the door, you see her, you take the garbage out. So you don't think about what happens to the waste and where does it finally end? Does anyone do anything with it? If I'm being irresponsible, who's going to be responsible? Do you want the waste picker to actually touch your sanitary waste or clear between the dry and the wet? Right? Would you do it? You wouldn't, right? So you have to create that awareness of the consequences of your action or inaction. Right? And it can only be done by a group of passionate people saying we are going to get it done and then doing it. Right? There is a memo from your director is not going to happen. Right? Someone has to take the initiative. And that is what social entrepreneurship is about finally. The willingness to take initiative to bring change within yourself, your neighbors, and your society you live in. Right? And finally, waste is impacting environment. And I think environmental impact can be reduced not by institutions, not by governments, not by companies, but by each individual taking the responsibility for the consequences of his actions. Right? And that's the only change. That is only then will we actually leave a a planet which is good for our children and generations to come. Next.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wise words and such a motivating speech, sir. So I'm pretty sure that students here would take a lot of lessons from this and take up social entrepreneurship and waste management in particular. So now to present Sir in the event, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Kamal Saxena.
I'm sorry if I came across as pontificating. I'm 56 years old, I think I'm allowed that. I'm sorry, the idea was not to pontificate, but to try and get you to think about what to do with this.
So the next speaker for today is Mr. Manish Mathew, an MSc in Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship from London School of Economics and Political Science. He has over 2 decades of experience being an entrepreneur and nurturing ideas that bring about social transformation. His major focus has been towards bringing change in the way healthcare is delivered in unorganized sectors of the developing economies. He is the founder and CEO at Medallion Social Innovators Private Limited. Without any further delay, I would now hand over the stage to Mr. Manish Mathew.
Hello everyone. I think it's been a real good journey for me. It's my first visit to the IITK Kanpur. It's been a long time. The last time I visited the IIT was IIT Delhi when I was with IBM. So the journey for me has been something very different, because when we were in IBM, our target was to attract the best of the software talent to IBM. And we used to woo them a lot and tell them that corporates are the end of the world. Now, strange are the ways of life that I leave the corporate part of it in search of trying to do something which has been a calling. And I figured it out probably when I was 29, when I started this entrepreneurial journey. A few of us actually left the corporate to start a venture in the social side. Now let me just start a little bit about what we do. Thank you, Michael. I think last minute. It always happens. The presentations always have to give you a bit of tension, isn't it? So I'll start with something that I'm quite impressed with the last row out there. You know, those of you who are in your uniform and students who are actually going to be the real difference. I know there's a lot of engineers in the making, but I'm going to keep this focused because you could be potential doctors also. And so I'm quite prejudiced as far as attracting the audience, and we work a lot with the doctors. So I would like to start the talk on a note that I actually experienced in 2001. And this was in Andhra Pradesh. We had gone on a field visit to one of the factories. I was yesterday sharing this with note of saying that we started actually helping sick manufacturing units gain management expertise and help those manufacturing companies to stay sustained so that people don't lose jobs. That's how we started. There was this boy called Krishna, who was 9 years old. Just like you and me when we were small, we tried bicycling, going on a adventurous trip. And Krishna has a fall and onto his head. And all that we know was he was right in front of us. It happened with a lot of bleeding. And even I did not know, we all helped him to get into an auto and we sent him to our clinic. And this was 2001, and this was rural Andhra Pradesh. I came back to Bangalore, to my base, and one of the first things that we said, the office person in the Andhra Pradesh office said, "Sir, did you know that the boy who fell from the bicycle in 9 years is no more?" Now, I would like to say, if the boy had a concussion, had a head injury, a very simple injury, which my daughter today in Bangalore, when she is faced with a small accident like that, is safe. You are all safe to some extent, but people who are in Bangalore are more safe, and people who are in the United Kingdom are even more safer. And this is how the whole system is stacked in healthcare. If you fall, and if you are a Krishna, falling in an interior place, in a rural place, your chance of making it live is almost diminished. Now, you're all students out there. You're all going to have a wonderful aspiration opening up. But can we kind of feel this feeling that if I were to do the same bicycling which I did in a rural place and in an urban place, why would that be? Why? It is access to equitable care. So Medallion started this journey of saying that we will start this journey in 2007. It struck my head from 2001 to 2007. I just didn't know what to do in healthcare. I'm no doctor. I'm no person who has got an innovative product. All that we had in our hand was the vision to kind of make healthcare in rural India a very strong platform. Let me tell you, over these years, Krishna has been in my head. We are still struggling. We have done about 15 projects. I will just take you very quickly through those projects, what we did. But this presentation or whatever we are doing is dedicated to those doctors, nurses, and those staff who are not part of the government system, who are working in small places which are unheard, the unsung heroes, and they're saving lives. So Medallion is what I call, I was telling sir, East. We wanted to kind of be East. What East does, you all know. It just ferments just enough at the right temperature and it produces the best result. We are just a team of about 10 of us. We're not heavy. We're not heavyweights. We look at organizations that are serving the needy in rural places who are going to partner with the government. We bring in seed investors. We look at impact investors. We bring in doctors. We bring in telemedicine. And more importantly, we bring in the medical leadership. And I'm just going to show you 3 examples of how we went about this journey. Just to start with, we started in 2007. This is a bit of history. So just for those backbenchers out there, this is me in 1992 when I did my first master's in social science. And last year, I took a sabbatical to go to London School of Economics. I went back to doing another master's. It is ridiculous, but it is the most fascinating learning in life to go back to school, to go back to university after a span of 24 years. Let me tell you, the current generation has amazing energy. And you guys have to be part of anything that what we're doing. So I'll tell you the first part of it, the encounter that I had. My story is going to be today, and I promise Pradeep that I'll make it more of a story time. It was what we call it as a divine powder, and you will all find it very soon. We talked about the aiding aspects of the medical education, like all of you, some of you would want to be a doctor, some of you would want to be an engineer or maybe even newer sciences that are coming up. But the key components of all these things is what brings the true transformation in healthcare. So in this last 12 years, we as an organization actually have gone about this entire cycle of learning what healthcare is all about. Okay. Now, this is the first hospital we took up. This was in Assam. And this was a hospital that was almost 86 years old. It was the oldest serving maternity hospital. They were bankrupt. They were not having finances to pay salary for doctors. They had nurses who had been working in the hospital for about 6 months, hoping that one day they'll get paid. Now, I'm not telling you about one hospital. This hospital is one of the thousands of hospitals or clinics that are helping poor patients but do not have support or access. So when we got in touch with this hospital, it's a journey. The divine powder starts here. You know, when I took over as the CEO, and we take it as a management responsibility, we take over the hospital when we are funding them. So I moved in and I said the surgeon, who is the man in that extreme right, who was sitting, squatting down, he came down one day and called me, sir, I think it's very important that you should know that what's happening in the operation theatre. So please come. I've been telling you about the infrastructure. Please come. So he got me dressed in the sterile, the suit, and we walked into the operation theatre. And the patient was just about to be opened, and he's a surgeon. He said, stand here, and do you feel anything? He asked. I said, I didn't feel anything. And he said, please just look around. And I felt, when in a minute, I started feeling this beautiful, fine touch of somebody actually gracing me on my right shoulder. I felt that there was a divine touch. But when I looked around, the divine powder was nothing but, there was some termites in the floor, which was the false roofing, which were eating up the false roofing, and the fine powder was on my shoulder, and this is an operation theatre in rural India. I mean, this was shocking, isn't it? But there is a surgery happening here. And that made us realize that healthcare is not just about being passionate. You've got to get your best equipment, your best doctors, and you have to really do, irrespective of what the patient can pay, you have to bring the right quality of treatment. Now, this organization started as a charitable hospital, but converted into a social. We started giving them a 1 rupee card for lifetime. And we had these community health workers working along in rural Assam. I was there with some of them. You can see that they are issuing registration in the nights, like 8:30 at night, because there was a huge demand, 1 rupee card. Lifetime membership. You come, you are a pregnant mother, or you need your baby to be taken care. We've got you working with us. This camp raised about 1 lakh mothers who actually were given a lot of counseling, a lot of preparation to say institutional deliveries are much safer than what you're doing. We tried to do something for the districts in Assam. Courtesy that, we had we partnered with the government. I always say government is the best partner. You cannot build a parallel system. You have to work with them. When you're working with them, you create this impetus, you create a huge volume of business. From being a hospital that was run down, we actually created wealth for that hospital, and more importantly for the community, because they were much better off at the end of 3 years. 100 beds, a reach of about 250 patients per day. But most importantly, what you have to note is, we were operating only at less than 5% margin. Okay, now this is not going to be so encouraging for most of you, but you can imagine the number of mothers and babies this hospital is seeing. So as doctors, as nurses, again, we started programs like elderly care. We started giving, hospital-based geriatric care. There's a friend of mine who started a business in along with geriatrics. I don't see him here. There he is. We said, when you have hospitals like these hospitals can come a big way in adding on services where you make a lot of money. Be it Narayana, be it, the hospitals that are doing. They know how to leverage where you can make money. and you subsidize your cost in other areas. So elderly patients got fantastic care, but our babies were being subsidized. So the elderly people paid for our babies in our hospital. That was the model that we followed. Okay. Next, this is the current project. I'll quickly go through it. We ventured into medical education. Now let me tell you why we chose medical education. This is a hospital and a medical college. It's a tertiary care. Investment for this is 500 crores. And if you look at it, the earlier hospital had a per annum turnover of about 10 crores. Now this hospital, and the medical college we started, was the first hospital in South which was done a medical college accreditation in a record time of about 3 years. We have about 800 beds, 450 full-time doctors, no referral cuts. You know, the cost of your consultation is 30 rupees. Neurosurgeon, cardiology, anything that you think of, because we have a medical college, we are able to subsidize. Medical education subsidizes your health care. You can keep your costs down if you bring in education, because your students, when they finish the third year, fourth year, they come in as people, as house surgeons to help you. So every year we are getting 100 students to work as doctors with us. This was actually a dream project for us, because the more number of medical colleges, if at all we are associated with, I'm on the board, we'll be able to inspire doctors to go to rural places. You must visit this facility. It is one of the most, I would say, the most good-looking hospitals I have been. It's totally done on a social enterprise. I will further tell you what are the things we put into it. That was the Chief Minister of Kerala. We were inaugurating the higher specialty. But our dream has been, the journey has come to a full cycle. This is the last month when I was in a tribal place in Gudalur, in Tamil Nadu, where in the real healthcare, when Pradeep was telling about the best global practices, this is a hospital where you have only about 100 patients per day, a revenue of only 2.4 crores per annum. They have about only 5 doctors. But the beauty of it is that healthcare, please remember, is less number of patients. But how do we make this sustainable? Because even for paying this is a big setup. This has about 80 beds and they have maternal care, they have surgeries, high-end surgeries. To sustain this, they do at least hundreds of community health work with the tribal people. Now they have empowered the tribal people to be on their board. The board members are the tribal people, not the doctors. So this project in Gudalur is something I've been called on to make it sustainable for the next generation, wherein number of patients visiting hospital should be less. That is an indicator of good health. Not the number of patients we see. Because business is more pharmacy, more diagnostics. Who would say, I had 30,000 rupees of bill every year, would you hire such a person? As an employer, if I say every year I'm spending 30,000 rupees on something, I'm more likely to be not hired. Good health means less visiting hospitals. But those hospitals in rural places need the best infrastructure, the best doctors and best training. That's, in short, we've gone to full cycle medical college with one of the best systems. We've created medical students for keeping down costs. We have started turning around hospitals that are committed to care but they don't have the money, but we partner with government. But more importantly, we have gone back to where it all started. Best healthcare is less visits to hospital. This is a dream for us that Medallion will continue to work in areas, provide the best infrastructure, but be ready when the patient comes. For example, in UK, where I was there, NHS is a failing system financially, but the homeless person who's picked up is given the same treatment a doctor is given in UK. Can we as a country give the same treatment, irrespective of his financial package. And that's our dream, that's our goal. We are working on it. We have teamed up with quite a few doctors now. It's a movement. So I urge all those youngsters there, like how you wanted to be social entrepreneurs, if you become doctors, remember, you can be thinking about ways to improvise healthcare in this country. Thank you very much for your time, and I think I really enjoyed learning. Any questions?
Oh. You have been working in the South India. So my question is, if the same model comes into the North India, what are your prospects about it? And the another question is, anything which you make for sustainable, you need to have an investment for it. So if you can put a light over it.
I think the second question is the more interesting question. I think the first question was, how do we do it if we are planning to do it in North? How do we plan to? I think doing Assam was equally challenging for me. I cannot speak Assamese. Our team did not speak, but we set in some of the best practices in rural Assam with the locals. And more importantly, the government was very supportive. The catalyst for that at that point of time was there was a very strong medical leadership from the government to make things through NRHM and packages that were very pro. I think that's the timing for us to enter into any place. If the timing is right for us to have a very positive government support, I think that's going to be right. That's the risk assessment we do, whether we need to be there. Second question is, you talk in terms of investment. I think if you are serving the social part of it, even in UK, there are a lot of funds. If you focus on programs that are very specific to communities, like for example, malnutrition is one. Still, maternal care is the other. You can talk about the livelihood diseases being third. There are for rural sectors investors who are willing to give you impact investment for you to scale up to some level. But then 80% of it has to come from the patients. We even had a program of having the insurance schemes like Sundaram financed in some of these places where there was a 22 rupees they were insurance they paid for a year, and they got a coverage of about 50,000 rupees. So we do, I mean now everybody asks the national insurance scheme. I'm not the best person to comment about it, but I have done some homework about it. I would only say we have to wait and watch how it unfolds.
No. Thanks for your comment, but still there are a lot of questions. How can I talk?
Can I take it offline? Because
Sure.
we need some time. I'll definitely spend some time. Anybody? So thank you. And
Thank you, sir. As you rightly said, healthcare is less number of patients, and that is a quite interesting quote. So I request Mr. Kamal Saxena sir to please present sir with the momentum.